here a couple days, but I wanted to thank everyone for coming out tonight. We do have the Travis County Sheriff's Office here for this. This is our second meeting. This is something that we will continue to have. So thank you for coming out for this, and thank you to all of you for attending tonight. I'm going to hand it over to Travis County and let them kind of take control of the meeting. We do have some questions that will come through. Anybody that's here today, if you want to come up and take some questions after they kind of do their presentation, we will take questions from here first. After that, we will take questions from anybody that is joining us virtually tonight. We will do that as quickly as we possibly can. If we are unable to get to any questions tonight, we will still take the questions. We will get you the answers and provide that information to you. We are going to stop at 7:30 just to make sure that everybody still has time this evening. So again, I'm going to just kind of hand this over. Thank you all for attending again. Nicole, I think, is going to come up and handle this, but we are going to go ahead and get started. Thank you.
Hi, good evening. My name is Nicole Durand, Community Liaison for the Travis County Sheriff's Office. So with my team and the Eastern Park team, we've coordinated this for you this evening. So we really appreciate that you came out, especially on an evening after work and kids and everything, to be with us. We look forward to communicating with you with your concerns and hopefully address them. And if not, like she said, we'll take it back with us tonight. I myself will gather those questions that may not get addressed. And with the staff, we're going to put together a packet of the meeting notes, all the prepared questions that we had. I'll have those answers as well as the ones maybe we don't have for you tonight. We'll get you that resource information. So that probably will come back to your team next week, and then they'll disseminate it out to you guys. Any other comments or questions at the end? Some of us may stay around to visit with you, but you know where to reach us, so you can reach us. So without further ado, I would like to introduce our lovely Sheriff, Sally Hernandez.
Thank you so much for coming out, and we are excited about being here. We always like to get out in the community because, you know, you only know what you know, right? And so we come out here to learn just as much as I'm sure you come out here to learn. So we're going to try to answer every one of your questions, and again, we're excited to be out here. I'd like to introduce my command staff. I have Captain Taylor and Major Craig Smith and Captain Billy Poole and Captain Tom Smith. But we have all kinds of wonderful TCSO staff here. And I think after you get through talking to us, I hope that you still think that they're wonderful. And we, like everybody in this nation, we are challenged by staffing, and we go out and everywhere we speak, we try to encourage people to tell them what a wonderful place the Travis County Sheriff's Office is, and maybe even send them our way. So if you know men and women that not only, we want people that have a heart to serve, that love our community. And so if you know some of those people, we've made it even really easy too. We have a little QR code. We're high tech here at the Sheriff's Office. But if you're interested in getting it, we'd love to give that to you, and would love your help, because, you know, the more staff we have, the better we can serve too, right? So everybody wanting a copy of this QR code? All right. I heard a lot of yes. Okay. I'd like to, Commissioner Margaret Gomez couldn't join us today, but she sent David Rendon, who is going to come just say hello.
Hi, my name is Ricardo Rendon, and I'm representing Margaret. She had a previous engagement, but I'm here to listen.
Oh,
So,
I am so sorry. I just said David.
David is our other assistant. That's why she. David's our this is Charles County. Their office that Commissioner Gomez.
Other than messing up her name, I'm glad that we're here. Now I'm going to turn it over to Captain Taylor.
To be introduced.
Yes,
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
I'm multitasking.
Good evening, everyone. As was said, my name is Willie Taylor, and I'm the captain over the East Command, and that's the command that where you guys are at right now. And guys, if you want to come and join me up here, you're welcome to. You may have a seat or and just hang out until you have an opportunity to speak here. So first, I'd like to extend a thank you to you in the community, y'all, you guys, y'all the people, y'all the glue that holds everything together. And also just to express that we need your partnership and participation in order to keep the community safe as safe as possible. You guys are a big part of that equation. You help us a lot by alerting us to potential dangerous and hazardous situations, calling in tips concerning criminal activity, and providing resources and other information that we would not otherwise have. So thank each of you for being here this afternoon. It shows that you really care about the community, and we appreciate it. I first want to give a brief overview of the Sheriff's Office as a whole, and then I'm going to drill down to what the East Command looks like, so that you guys have an understanding of what that looks like in the command in which you are in. And as I was coming out here, and I'm sure a lot of these folks would share that opinion, a lot has changed out here since I was on patrol over 20 years ago. This was all a field. There was nothing out here but cows, maybe a horse or two every now and then. But there was nothing out here, and the population has exploded. Anyway, I'm going to jump back to the Sheriff's Office real quick. So the Sheriff's Office has over 1,800 employees, and at the top, of course, is our Sheriff, Sally Hernandez, and then right below her is our Chief Deputy, Anthony Johnson. And each bureau, so there are 3 bureaus in the Sheriff's Office too. We have the Administration and Support Bureau, the Corrections Bureau, and the Law Enforcement Bureau. And there's a major over each one of those bureaus. So the major over the Admin Support Bureau is Major Wes Pretty. And under his umbrella are sections like Human Resources, the Training Academy, Finance Department, Inmate Medical Staff, Courthouse Security, Chaplain Services. Some of those are examples of what's in the Admin Support Bureau. And then, of course, the Corrections Bureau, our major is Raul Velasco, and he's responsible for caring for and housing the inmate population and running the jail facilities. And the major over law enforcement, of course, is Major Craig Smith, who y'all met earlier over there. And under the Law Enforcement Bureau, it's divided into 3 commands. You have the West Command, which is just about everything west of IH-35, except for the Wells Branch area. And you have the Central Command, which houses our criminal investigation unit and some other units, including community outreach. And you have the East Command, which is my command. The East Command has a total of 168 employees, civilian and sworn. There are 3 patrol platoons or shifts comprised of deputies who work day shift, evening shift, and night shift. Each patrol platoon has a lieutenant over it, and below that lieutenant are 4 sergeants or first line supervisors. We also have 2 lieutenants who oversee our East Command Special Operations Section. We have a lieutenant over our tactical group, vice unit, and K9 unit. We also have a lieutenant over our auto theft unit, vehicle impound unit, stray unit, and environmental unit. The East Command also houses our Forensic Services Division, which includes the evidence warehouse and the crime scene staff. And those sections are supervised by a civilian manager, the evidence warehouse and the crime scene staff. We have some personnel from a few of these sections at the meeting who will be answering some of your questions. But before we begin, I know Nicole mentioned it earlier. Please keep track of your questions, the questions that you may have, and we'll try to answer them at the end during the Q&A portion. But first, I would like to introduce one of the deputies who patrols this area. And so if you call 911, you might see him. And his name is Andrew Cavendish. He is standing right over there. If you call 911, he may respond to your house. He typically works evening shift. Sometimes he works some of the nights when they need some help as well. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and get started with the first set of questions that you guys in the community sent in earlier. And I'm going to try to hit a lot of those. Like I may answer a lot of the questions that you guys already have while I do my presentation. So please be patient, and I promise you, I'm not going to sit here and filibuster. My father was a Baptist preacher, so I could stay up there for 2 hours. But I'm not going to. I'm going to spare you guys. So one of the first questions that we had was, please clarify what the gun laws are for the area regarding carrying, using guns. And I won't dive too deep into that because there's a ton of laws out there. I'll just direct you to where you can find those so that you can kind of educate yourselves on those. But there are laws governing the carrying and discharge of firearms and also places where weapons are prohibited. So I encourage you to please look online for chapters 42 and 46 of the Texas Penal Code. And all that stuff is public information. It can be found online. However, generally speaking, people are legally allowed to carry firearms on their own property, on their way to or while inside of a vehicle under certain circumstances. Again, those are too much to get into for the purposes of this meeting. There's a lot of little stipulations and things like that you know, you guys will lean your head back and go to sleep if I did a lot of that. So I'm going to spare you that. But you can find that information at statutes.capitol.texas.gov. And you just go down to the chapter 42 and chapter 46, and you can read through that, and it'll tell you all the laws, a lot of the laws concerning weapons. So for more information, you can consult that. And so I'll move on to the next question real quick. Are people legally allowed to shoot on their land, nearby residents? So as we see population just growing and growing and growing in the east side of Travis County, it's also happening out west as well. We come upon situations where things were happening before, and you know there were no real issues, but now we've seen population growth. We're starting to see some more issues due to that population growth, and shooting on land is one of those issues that comes up regularly. So people who reside in the county are allowed to shoot firearms on their land. However, they should be doing it responsibly and safely. So if there is ever a question or concern from the citizens, from you guys, concerning the safety of someone shooting, then TCSO should be called to investigate those incidents so that we can make sure and see if they're shooting safely. In the county, you know, people do have the right to shoot safely, but if in neighborhoods, that's a different story. We need to be called so that we can come out and investigate those situations, okay? Because the houses are very close together here, and that presents a safety concern in itself, right? And in the next part, I'm going to probably answer a few of the other questions as well as I go through this summary real quick. And by real quick, remember my dad is a Baptist preacher, so by real quick, I could mean an hour, 2 hours, maybe more. Three of the questions that were posed that I plan on covering some of, and if you guys have more specific questions, please don't hesitate to ask me when we're at that point, okay? 3 questions. Have you identified who is firing the guns? Can we determine the direction of fire? What is TCSO doing to make sure the community is safe? So I'm going to try to address those real quick as I summarize an initiative that we are conducting, and it's ongoing out here in this community in the Easton Park subdivision. So to give you guys a little bit of background, in late December, we were notified of an increase in shots fired calls for service coming from this neighborhood, the Easton Park neighborhood. The information was immediately communicated to the patrol supervisors who passed the information on to the deputies who work this area. I directed the evening shift lieutenant to lead a patrol initiative with assistance from the night shift lieutenant, who incidentally is Lieutenant Villarreal sitting over here. Since the incidents were primarily occurring during the evening and night shift hours. Their objective was to have deputies in and around the neighborhood and to pay very close attention to shots fired calls for service in this area. They were to deploy resources and make sure that each incident was investigated fully. Additionally, the overall objective was to find out where the shooting may be coming from and to determine if it is legal, illegal, hazardous, or what the circumstances were around the shooting. In summary, since the initiative began and I'll give you guys kind of a little like 3 months ago, kind of backstory a little bit. Since the initiative began about 3 months ago in late December, there have been 3 different instances of shots fired, which is definitely a decrease from what we saw like the last quarter of 2021. We saw way more shots fired calls then than we are seeing now. So there were 3 instances of shots fired calls. The first instance was around Christmas Eve 2021. There were several calls concerning shots fired in the area, and we had 3 deputies and a supervisor respond to the area. They also called on the assistance of the Austin Police Department's helicopter to see if they could locate anything from the air that our deputies could see from the ground. Units checked the area for over an hour with patrols and the helicopter, but they were not able to locate the source of the shots that were fired that night. There was no report of any houses or property being struck in that incident. On January 12th, there was a caller who called about hearing shots fired 2 days prior and had no other information to provide. So there was somebody who called us about a fire incident. And they were not, so, and then the third incident was on February 19th. Someone in the area of William Cannon and McKinney Falls Parkway heard shots they believe were coming from a moving vehicle. They were not able to provide a vehicle description, and the shots were only heard, but nothing was seen at the time. So deputies responded and they did check the area, but did not locate anything based on the information provided. So that's what has been happening since late December. And those are the only shots fired calls that we've had since then. So as you can see, those instances are random and they're spread out, and they're just about impossible to predict. They're also not occurring as often as they were last year, which I covered earlier. So moving forward, we plan to continue our patrol initiative in the area. We will continue to use our resources to try to track down where the shots are coming from. We have learned that also that there's a shooting range about 1.5 miles away, and from the neighborhood, and it's I believe it's on DG Collins or Gabriel Collins. We're looking at all different avenues to try to figure out where the shots are coming from, and we're also coordinating with Fire Marshal's office concerning that range. We also believe that there could be shooting occurring on neighboring large properties that are not occupied with houses or anything like that. So people may be out there hunting or dove hunting or something like that. We're looking into that. Lastly, keep in mind that shooting in the county could be legal if it's done safely. So we'll continue to need your help in reporting these types of issues so that we can investigate them and try to get down to the bottom of where these shots are coming from. I do know that also that last year there were a couple of residences that experienced some bullet strikes and stuff like that. And we have those reports, and we have the collected things that we collected when we went out there to those residences as well. So with that, there's a few more questions that were brought up beforehand, and I'm going to turn it over to Sergeant Hoffman to start to address those questions that came up.
Thank you, Captain. Good evening, folks. So good to see all you, all the faces out here in the crowd and also online. Thank you for joining us. We'd like to thank you for your hospitality, number one, and for the opportunity to partner with you guys. The fact that you're wanting to engage with us really says a lot, and we are here to support you. So thank you. My name is AJ Hoffman, and I'm one of the sergeants on the evening platoon shift, which means I supervise the deputies that work from 3 p.m. to 1 a.m., Deputy Cavendish being one of them. So thank you. I've been asked to speak briefly tonight to answer some of the questions. You know, y'all had some great questions that came in. Forgive me, I'm not on my phone. I'm about to do the notes for your questions. They were great questions, and most of them really were surrounded by the gunfire, which Captain Taylor addressed. And we know that that's cause for alarm. So I want to go through a few of those questions with you. One of the first questions that came out was, what number do we call, and when is it appropriate to call to report gunshots, and what kind of information should we pay attention to? For example, time, location, quantity of the shots, etc. I'm going to give you just a moment to grab a pen or your cell phone, because I'm going to give you a phone number. Let me lead with this. 911 is always going to be available to you. We can't minimize your fear. We can't tell you how to feel. If you want to report any kind of emergency whatsoever, please do call 911. The non-emergency phone number, that number is on our website, but it's going to also bring you to our TCSO communications department and our dispatch. And that number is 512-974-0845. And that's option number 3. So sticking with the gun question, as you hear these gunshots and you want to report them to our dispatch to get deputies out here, if you feel that you're in fear, please do call 911. If it's a non-emergency, you're welcome to use that non-emergency line. Both of those phone calls are going to be routed to our dispatch and ultimately be sent to our deputies. So either one will get you the same result. The second question is, how can we effectively report gunshots when we don't know exactly where they're coming from? And this kind of has to do with the first question too, is, what should we be alarmed with? The number of shots, the time of day, things like that. How can we effectively report gunshots? Here's how we kind of answer that from a professional position here. Like Captain Taylor addressed, certain gunfire within the county is perfectly legal. However, what would be cause for alarm for me, however, is if you hear gunshots and you observe people shooting in your direct neighborhood from moving vehicles across the roadway, on their driveways, these are definitely cause for concern. And we want you to call 911. We want to be out here. If you do experience those types of incidents, please gather as much information as possible for our deputies, such as the vehicle type, descriptions of the vehicle and the people that are actively shooting. Again, we can never ever minimize your fear, but what we have come to discover throughout our research here is that we believe that most of the gunfire that you hear are going to be from the gun ranges or from the rural areas. Yes. Yes.
There's been quite a few. More.
Yes.
I don't know. I guess maybe people aren't calling it in or whatever. I actually called them in the other night, so there'd be 4 instances, but the ones that concern me are late at night. Those are the ones I hear people are complaining about here. I only hear that on our Facebook group. So the gun ranges aren't open. But if I'm laying in bed at 11:30 at night and I'm hearing an assault rifle coming from Fulton Bluff area, I kind of know where that is. And when I called it in, I said, hey, I think it's coming from Fulton Bluff. There's some properties over there. They're either firing towards my house or towards those houses. They can't fire in any direction and not hit a house, so I just don't understand why that would be called up.
Yeah, we certainly will follow up, and we would love those phone calls from you. Thank you for addressing that. So again, yeah, so we at the Sheriff's Office, we are here to service you folks, no matter what and no matter when. If you are feeling alarmed and you want to report those gunshots, please do. Please call.
What if they're drunk and they aim the wrong direction? My house is right in the line of fire because I know where they're coming from.
You're exactly right, and your concern is extremely genuine, and we care about that, and we want to. So I don't know the science behind every bullet and behind every firearm. And again, we thank you for this opportunity for this discussion because we want to address these concerns, and we want to come out and we want to investigate. If you're hearing shots fired while in your bed and we need to determine where this is coming from, please do call 911 because we want deputies to come out there as soon as possible. Oftentimes they could be coming from McKinney Falls, William Cannon 183 area. They could be coming from moving vehicles. That would be very, very alarming to me as well. So please understand we are not minimizing or dismissing gunfire simply because it's legal in our county. We want to know and we want to respond to help you. Thank you for that question. Last question. Yeah. Is there any type of monitoring device technology that narrows down where gunshots come from? We don't believe that that technology exists. However, when you do call, please give us as much information that you have so that when we come out, we can assess. Tell us your block range, tell us the cross streets that you're on, tell us your address. We will come out and we will stage and we will monitor that fire, the shots fired. And if we can see the muzzle flashes or the sound where they're coming from, that gives us a better idea to where to drive to investigate that.
I think one of the biggest issues that I get the feeling here, most of us are in bed and we hear it and it wakes us up and we're kind of disoriented for a minute. We're like, well, we know that was gunfire. We have no idea where it came from. We have no idea how close to our house is.
Yes.
It was down to travel quite a distance, so it could actually be quite a distance away.
It could
Or
be.
It could be very close, but we really don't have a lot of information to give you except that, hey, I just woke up and I heard, 10 shots.
Yes. And oftentimes that is all that you have, and that's perfectly acceptable. Please call and we'll respond as quickly as possible because we do need to get out there quick so that we can assess and investigate. So yes, please do call us, and that's what we're here for.
And as often as we can, we have deputies out in the neighborhood already. They're sitting writing reports. They have been, they're here in your neighborhood patrolling around, doing directed patrols. We have deputies out here constantly because of the growth that's up here. We want to be in the area where the calls are going to come to the most. Also, the deputies have been directed to come to this area and just roll their windows down and listen for what's going on in the neighborhood so that they can hear any potential shots that are being fired.
We're trying to, if we can just all the questions started in, so that, we can,
Yeah.
give all the questions that we have already had, assigned to us, and then we can answer the questions that we have in our process.
Thank you for allowing me to address those. I'm going to turn it back over to Captain Taylor. Thank you all.
And I'm going to turn it over to Lieutenant Villarreal to speak to the questions that that came up for him.
I'm Virgil Villarreal. I'm a lieutenant on the night shift, so I'm usually out here from 9 p.m. to 7 a.m. And I have a few questions. They can certainly cover patrol and public disturbances. And ask, what frequency do we patrol out here in this neighborhood? So usually on night shift, we have 4 deputies out in this whole area, in this what we consider Charlie sector, which is south of 71, the 183 corridor down to the county lines to the city of Austin. So while they're doing their proactive activities throughout the night, this is one of the places they come to, but they come through all the neighborhoods they're able to. They go to the business parks to make sure those aren't being burglarized. One thing we have asked them to do is to come here and sit, be visible, because they do get the reports. They have to write these reports. So if we're out visible, at least we're being seen, they're able to respond quickly to some of these calls. And to go back to when you guys feel like something's going on, it's, frightens you, it looks out of place, doesn't look right, go ahead and call us. That's what we're here for. I know as a deputy, I appreciate it. I got to come out and maybe see a different area or problem that I didn't know existed in the neighborhood. Maybe got to meet somebody. That face-to-face time humanizes me and the other deputies, but it also allows us to get to know you guys and put a face to the neighborhood. All these guys care about the neighborhoods, they care about the people they're working with, but when they know a specific person, they realize, hey, that person's a lot like my family. I'm concerned for these kids out here, or this elderly woman that's like my mom. So there's a lot that we can go back and forth. We have a lot in common, and building up that trust helps when you guys call 911, we get that FaceTime with you. So they are out here all the time. They can't be out here like 24 hours a day, but they pass through here. And they don't have a regular schedule. They'll have a set of neighborhoods they like to go through. And as calls dictate, maybe they're called away a little further east, they'll go out there and then come back this way. And it also not having a predictable schedule that's to minimize them knowing, hey, I'm not going to be back here for an hour and a half. And we'll double back over the course of their shift. And then there was another question regarding, is the sheriff's office hearing about these reports and acting on what they hear? So I guess that's concerning disturbances. So if you guys call 911, yes, we're hearing about it. If you guys are chattering among yourselves, unless we happen to see a Facebook post or something on Nextdoor that one of us is watching, then we don't really hear about it. So to better protect you guys, if you'll call us, we'll come out and check it. And if we do have a disturbance, it depends on the nature of that particular disturbance. It may be a civil issue where people are just arguing with each other. We'll try to calm that down for the evening, get them to regroup and maybe work it out later. If it's a criminal event, we'll deal with it. It could be we make an on-scene arrest right then. It could be we write it up. A detective will get it. If, there's none of the involved parties, we'll still come out and check, talk to people, see what they saw. But we are aware of those calls too, if we don't have any leads to follow up on, that, hey, there was something here with a group of people, but they all dispersed before you got here. If you tell us, hey, they live down the street, we'll go over there to that particular house, make sure everybody's okay, see what we can find out. So I don't want you guys to ever feel like you can't call us. And you mentioned like on Friday nights, we might be real busy. We might be, but those calls are prioritized. So if we're busy, we have a collision with serious injuries, we have a robbery, we're going to go to those. We're going to get to these other calls as we can, but we're going to get through the calls. And then there was a question concerning, can we have more night patrols? So that was one thing the captain spoke about. We are having an initiative. I have asked the guys to come out here a little bit more, spend time out here writing reports. I come out here myself. I've come out with the guys on calls. I come out here independently. Sometimes I sit because I wanted to hear when we first got all these reports about the gunshots. Fortunately, it's random. So sometimes I'm sitting here with my lights blacked out, some of these streets, and there's nothing going on. I don't hear anything, and I can be out here for a couple of hours working on some other paperwork that I have. But we are out here and we're trying to do it. We are stepping up our patrols. These guys still have to be able to respond to calls in other locations. And then I had a question concerning what can be done concerning loud music being heard in our homes from the venues that are close to the community. So that can be a little bit difficult to address. So if you guys call us and you don't want to meet with us and you say, hey, there's loud music coming from a location, we'll come out and we'll still check. If we find that house, that business, whatever, we will make contact with those people and ask them to turn it down. But that is just a kind of polite conversation with really no enforcement, because what I need from you guys, if you have the opportunity or could meet with us, to be willing to be a complainant for us, to give us a statement that, hey, this is going on. And when we're there, we can measure the decibel level to see if it reaches. It has to reach an 85 decibel level for us to enforce it as being a disorderly conduct. And that would be a citation, but that would be after we know that, hey, the decibel levels are at 85 or above. We make contact with the offending party, ask them to turn it down. If they refuse or they turn it up after we leave, then we can issue a citation. But we would need your assistance in that. It doesn't have to be all of you, or at least one of you said, yes, you can come meet with me. It is this loud, we've measured it, and then just give me a statement that, yes, you're offended by that noise. And we can go deal with them a little bit more directly and try to issue a citation. I believe that was all the questions I was getting.
I was going to introduce my team unless you got.
No. I was just going to turn it over to you.
Thank you.
So that you can-
I know it seems rushed, we're just trying to be respectful of everyone's time, so we want to give you time to have the community portion. So I'd like to introduce my two officers on the community outreach team. We have Deputy Alexis White and Deputy Chip Roberts, and they're going to answer our last two questions.
Yes. Two of the questions that we received for the guys' safety measure and security cameras. We're going to try to answer those as best we can. The question I received about security cameras having to record any activity. What is the best way to get that footage to our office? One of the best ways to get that footage to our office, if you guys cameras report any activity, it's dial 911. And 911 is not, if you don't feel like it's too important for the 911, you can always dial a non-emergency number. And again, that non-emergency number is 512-974-0845. Again, it's option 3. At that time, we will have one of our deputies come out. The deputy will come out and he would generate a report. That report, once it's generated, could be transferred to one of our detectives. Our detectives will go over that report And at the end of his, him going over there to report, he would reach out to one of you guys and have, other ways to, have you guys turn in that video. Yeah, if need, at the end of, him reviewing that video. And that's all I have for that.
So in other words, you can't just copy and paste your videos.
Right.
Send them in. So you'll have to, report the incident, just like a regular report of, something that happened and you witnessed it. It's just like that. So you'll have to generate a report and then submit that evidence to the detective.
Right.
So the next question that we have is, what can we do to help keep our community safe in addition to having security cameras, leaving lights on and locking doors? Seems like you might have covered it on this one. So yes, lock your doors, lock your doors. You would never, ever believe the percentages of cars that are broken into that are unlocked, okay? So lock your doors and have those beautiful lights in your yards. We do a presentation, we've done one here actually, that's called Keeping Your Home Safe. And we have a lot of information on different things that you can do to make your house less attractive to criminals that are looking to break in. Another thing that I want to bring up is being a watchful neighbor. So you can start a neighborhood watch committee and be out there for your neighbors. Nowadays, we've gotten to a point where we're minding our own business, and that's not good. If anybody in here can name 5 neighbors, I'll give you $50. Get to know your neighbors. While I was walking around, I talked to Richard Rendon, right? Got the name right, good. He was speaking about one time he had something weird happened in his neighborhood, and he knew his neighbor's vehicles, and a car came, and it was an abduction. And he helped the guy get caught. He wrote down the license plate and the information. That is literally how crime gets solved. Are your neighbors being watchful? Have those block parties to get to know your neighbors. Just speak to them. If you know their cars and different things, then you can be able to identify something that's out of place. So to answer your question, you are how to stop the crime in your neighborhood. It's calling in, reporting crimes. A lot of people don't report. When you're waking up in the middle of the night, you file that report so that we can know, get those tips, and we'll be aware of what's going on, and don't just count on other people to call in those gunshots that you are concerned about. Any incident that you have, like they said, call 911. When in doubt, call 911. I know I have to tell my preschoolers there, but clearly I need to tell my adults as well. But thank you guys for having us.
Thank you.
So just on that note, we have a resource and information table in the back. If you have not visited us, we have information about some of the programs that we offer. They also do home security inspections to come see the property and the perimeter of your property is as safe as it can be. And so those are some great options that we offer at the Sheriff's Office. So through community outreach, we can do this presentation and programs with you. With that, Council Taylor, we'll back with Tiffany.
You ready for some questions?
Sure.
Okay, so we've got about 20 minutes, so I'd like to go ahead and open the floor for anybody that is here. If you'd like to come up here to the podium and speak into the mic.
I just talk from here.
Sure.
Relative to the noise, summer's coming. I like to sleep with my windows open when the evenings are cool. In the vicinity of the gunshot people, they also have live music parties, and they will go sometimes till 2 o'clock in the morning. Is there a cutoff that they have to shut it down? And it's loud, it's live music.
It's really not cut off. It's,
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the tough part.
Correct.
So you guys live very close to the city of Austin, but you're not quite in the city of Austin. I mean, I'm sure you guys are aware of that. And so what we try to do is we try to communicate with the people who are the business and try to, help them understand how close they are to the neighborhood and if they would shut it down or lower the volume. But outside of that, not a whole lot that we can help with.
So you just check the decibel range of the loudness, and if it exceeds a certain level, then you can stop.
We work on, yeah, we have to work under the Texas law when it concerns loud music and loud noises. So I think,
I was wondering if you could help us understand the difference between a gunshot and a firecracker, or fireworks going off.
so
Do you mind repeating questions? If you're not going to the mic, either please speak loudly or please repeat it from the back burner. Thank you.
Yes, the question was, can we distinguish the sound difference between firecrackers and gunshots? I will tell you this, and just to use the different separation as a layman or a civilian who doesn't have that experience with the military or police, you might not be able to tell the difference. I myself might not even be able to tell the difference. So a lot that could affect that sound, the clouds, the weather, the proximity, also the time of year. Texas is known for having, months of activity of fireworks and firecrackers. And again, within the limits of Travis County jurisdiction, those are also legal. So it's a long way around to say, when in doubt, please just call. But if it's 4th of July and you hear, a bunch of snap, crackle, and pops, chances are it's going to be fireworks.
A couple of weeks ago, I live in a cul-de-sac off Century Path, and there was someone doing burnout donuts 3 in the morning, and I think they went to another neighborhood. Was there any resolution to that?
okay, you guys know anything about, I don't have any information on that particular
Okay.
incident.
It was too bright. I'm sorry.
They went to Bryant Park.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry, ma'am, I don't have any.
I also didn't report it, but I believe it was reported later that.
There was a deputy that showed up, but they had already left. And talked to my husband.
Yeah, they've definitely hit about
Yeah.
cul-de-sac to cul-de-sac.
It
They
could
were
be
on this one.
constables, I'm not sure when constables and sheriff, like, what the difference is. You know.
Well, just briefly, I mean, we do the law enforcement work, and we're out in the community. We answer your 911 calls for service. Typically, the constables will serve civil process and do things of that nature.
Oh, there's sometimes money. So if we call 911, is it going to be the sheriff's office or is it going to be, why do the constables even come?
It's,
Can I help with that?
sure.
So before being your sheriff, I was a constable in precinct 3. So constable really is like a community law enforcement. So they have the luxury of coming and doing community events and community things. But when you call 911, you're going to get the sheriff's office if you're not going to get called. And pretty much, if you call it during the night hours, you're going to get the sheriff's office. I mean, if you call, you're going to get us anyway. But if somebody comes out in the evening hours, it's going to be the sheriff's office. Most of the time, constables work from like 8 to 5 or 8 to 6 or something like that, unless they're working at a special community event. But the 911. Sorry,
Thank you, Sheriff.
thought I knew.
Thank you, Sheriff. And I'm not so sure it wasn't Deputy Cavendish doing donuts.
Or eating donuts.
Yes, sir.
Do you have a summary of vehicle break-ins?
Sorry, I can't hear you.
Do you have a summary of vehicle break-ins
Oh, you want to know how many vehicle break-ins there have been?
in this area?
Okay. I did pull a few statistics for the area, and by and large, the things that we respond to out here are residential alarms. Over the last 3 months, we responded to about 22 residential alarms here. As far as vehicle break-ins go, I'm seeing over the last 3 months, 2 that were called into us that we took reports on. Let me clarify.
If I may add to that too, on our website, we have a crime stats webpage that you can, 2 options to get a lot of neighborhoods contact us. We always know what stats for the last 2 months. That has to go through our open records request through our legal. So on that crime stats page, there's information and links of how to request that. And or we also partner with a lot of lot more agents as far as spot crime, if you're not familiar with them. You can type in your address, your zip code, and it will give you patterns that kind of almost like a heat map of particular crimes within your area. So that's a great tool that we have on our website as well, under crime status. So it might help you.
Okay, thank you, Nicole.
You're welcome.
So have you guys visited those properties on Fulton Bluff and talked to them at all?
So yes, we had a supervisor go out to the property on Colton Bluff. And when he went out there to check the property to see what was going on, there was nobody on the property. The gate was open. So he checked the property, there was nobody there. And then he left at that point because there was nobody on the property. So yes, we have gone out to several properties over there, trying to conduct investigations to look into the shots that are being fired. Yes, sir.
There have been some deaths in the neighborhood. I think last year someone's car was stolen. There's our superintendent for our bill even said, by far, this was the worst neighborhood for material theft from the building sites that he'd ever seen. I appreciate you sharing that you patrol regularly. How many times in the course of a night shift would you say that you do go through here roughly? I know you don't give specific times.
So I'm also responsible for like all the way up to the Wells Branch, that Round Rock and Pflugerville area. So personally, I come through that area, that Maynard corridor that we also have, and then I come down here. So I try to break up my shift where I'm with all my guys at different points of the night. So it may be once or twice. It may be that calls, I don't get down to where I want to be. You know, I come with
patrol deputies in particular, or
are you talking about me?
Just patrol deputies.
Okay, now they're here and they're a little more free, so they're not moving. They're in this, what we call Charlie sector. So they have, like I said, down the 71 corridor. So it really depends how they're able to patrol, how they're able to respond to calls. And I do have some that, you know, they pick out spots they like to sit more. And I know one of my deputies, Deputy Douglas, this is one of the places he comes a lot. And as far as the material thefts, we have responded to those. And I think last month we had one out here and we did stop those guys. I was out here with the deputies. We found them. So we did make an arrest in some of those cases.
Awesome. Thank you.
So just for those two? Oh, it does. Good. Okay, so first, to clarify legislation, when you live inside the city on private property, you're not allowed to shoot a gun, right, on your property?
Yeah, that's what I understand, but I don't know all the ins and outs when it comes to laws or ordinances that are in the city.
Right, but definitely in the county, you are on your private property allowed to shoot a gun.
So yeah, if it's safe to do so, yeah, and if it's not, like in a neighborhood like this, there's
Correct.
serious safety concerns.
For sure, and I think that's my concern. Easton Park is developing rapidly, and I'm not sure what the precedent is for an area like this in the county developing into such high density residential. But it seems like the risk increases with a law like that in a county. It would seem beneficial that our area could move to city jurisdiction faster. I know we're on some kind of timeline based on whatever we paid for mud and whatever, but it seems like this area, once it becomes a certain level of density, it should be transitioned to city. And this might be a question for Margaret.
I'll take it, that, unless you're annexed,
Right.
that's the only way that you're gonna be part of the city.
How does one become annexed?
That's something.
You don't want to be annexed.
No.
Well, dang. Oh, okay. Well, property taxes mean nothing if you get shot, but, yeah.
Please.
Yeah.
Let me just add one thing that I know Captain Taylor may not be aware that we're working on, but the sheriff's been helping us. So city, or you just kind of hit it on the head. The city of Austin and other municipalities have municipal ordinances that are specific to that municipality. And as Captain Taylor's pointed out, we really don't have county ordinances. The county commissioner's court has the ability to do that. But we have very, very few. And so, as Captain Taylor said, we enforce state law. There is a piece of the Travis County Code that speaks to shooting a firearm on your property. And right now, it is legal for you to do so as long as you do that safely. The sheriff is actively working with the commissioner's court to see if we can get a change in the county's code, which has been in place for many, many years. But what we have brought up is we're recognizing the growth in the county because, as he said, we all kind of started off patrol 20 plus years ago, and this was fields. And so shooting out in a field was no big deal. Shooting on that same piece of property now is a big deal. And so what we're working on with our commissioners, and Commissioner Gomez, I know is willing to work with us. It's a bit of a process, but we are trying to get a county ordinance worked into the county code that will be very, very strict on firing any type of firearm, even in the county. Right now, as they're talking about, it doesn't exist, but we're really pushing to get that done. And if you watch the agenda for the Commissioners Court, when that comes up as an agenda item, that would be the time that we would have all the commissioners push out to their constituents to say, we're going to discuss this and the court is going to vote on it. That would be the opportunity for the community to speak out in their support of enacting a county ordinance, which the Commissioners Court rarely does because it's a huge step. But Travis County is working its way to where we're not a rural county anymore. The entire county is urban. And so it's becoming necessary to change some of those laws or codes that have been in place for a really long time based on growth. So I just wanted, and I apologize for jumping in. I just didn't know if Captain Taylor was aware. But we are starting those conversations. And I know that Commissioner Gomez's office is one that we'll be working with to see if we can get that in front of the court to actually change that code.
Awesome.
So
Good.
more to come on that.
Okay, well, great, that's good. Regarding that communication, is that something that in addition to us getting a notification from our representatives, that you could communicate with the Master Association and send out alcohol call to our neighborhood?
Communication as it's progressing, or just when that Commissioner's Court piece comes out to let you guys know on this Tuesday?
Right.
And watch.
I mean, I think updates, follow-ups are very helpful to the community, but especially that all call, like, hey, we've made it to a public discussion, please come out.
I just want to let you know that also on Tuesdays and Thursdays, y'all be able to see those on TV or online, the Travis County Commissioners Court. And it will be the agenda of everything to be on for up and coming. Well, session.
Just knowing realistically how we operate as a community. Sometimes we don't necessarily call when we hear gunfire, so we're not as motivated to do things like watch a city council meeting and see the agenda.
If y'all do, and if you are active, y'all can't get to fire, transpires.
In my meeting notes, when I put everything together and I provide everyone with links and resources and phone numbers that I mentioned, I'll include the Commissioner's the best information. I think I've done that into over, but I'll reiterate it. Okay, guys.
As a community, is there anything we can do now as far as written documentation or evidence for your case that you're building to establish this new legal?
I think what I'm hearing is call in when you have, when you.
That's the thing. Okay.
Yeah, right, because I think people often hear it, wake up and think, somebody else will call in, right? And that's why we have 3 calls, and y'all, when he said 3 calls, I saw all of you go, oh, no. And then I wanted to go, okay, did you call? And see, and you're from Kansas.
A couple of us have called, and so that was the concern, I was expecting to get offline. It seems like maybe there's a disconnect. Like we called on the 30th of March. But they included that their stats. So there might be a disconnect. We know to call a non-emergency number, but that particular thing, we actually called 911. So calls being dropped somewhere.
Well, get with us and let us check. Let's see if.
So I called you last week.
There was one that's particularly loud, like it sounded like a lot of people said someone was knocking on a window.
So it sounded like a stall.
Was it far away sounding?
It sounded really close, like we all back up to the water detention pond thing that on the other side of it is the tow yard and junkyard.
Right.
So
right.
I feel like that's why we really focus there, because I can stay on the backyard, you can hear it. Like there's no question where it's coming from as far as I'm.
Right.
So may I ask what you're inspiring to see if there's like follow-up on it, is what maybe we can do? Is there
my concern was our calls were included in
in a staff, okay.
calls, so it's just more to highlight that for you.
To cross-reference where it's missing to capture.
And that's easy to,
Yes.
to figure out, just give us your number,
Yeah.
give us their number.
Yeah.
And we can figure out where that's at. Okay, that's easy.
With your call, it was about 9 or 10 o'clock at night, right? Somewhere in that area? 10, yeah. So I was over there in, it's a McKinney, one just, south right here, going towards Wayne Canyon. I heard the gunshots as well, because we sit right on course. So I heard the gunshots, waited a couple minutes, you guys called. I went around the area, but I mean, I called one of the people who told me that their wife had seen it from a window, and it was coming from Sassman, and they were going on to Daxton, kind of going north. I was here pretty quick. I searched, I mean, I drove around the area, I didn't see it.
How quickly can we get, I don't know how quite how to phrase it. We need this resolved as quickly as possible. What's the best way to do it? We live on Best Right Bend and we face our backyard faces the knuckleheads that are shooting it every night. Or not every night, but often. And I'm guilty of not calling on a regular basis, but I wouldn't want to be the guy that had a bullet in my chest as a result of their marrying on a Friday night. And I want it to end as quickly as possible. What can I do to help stop this? There's no question that those are automatic rifles that are being fired in my backyard. There's no question that there have been bullets fired in this neighborhood. There's no question in my mind that these guys are smart. And when they see a police officer come rolling down the road, they're going to put their guns away. So I don't have an answer, but I do have a concern that time will go on and this won't be resolved and somebody will get hurt and then everybody will be, really, lots of prayers, not to shit for anybody,
Also, when they shoot that handgun first, and then they follow it up with the automatic weapon. Well, by the time you hear that, they usually stop right after that. They don't shoot multiple rounds of that automatic weapon. And I don't know, I can't even count the bullets and shoot so fast. But the first round is usually 6 shots, it's loud, it sounds like they're right on the other side of my fence. I know where it's coming from, and people live in that RV that's behind the food trucks, the house, and then there's junk behind that, and there's an RV back there, that people are living back there. Yeah. I know that's where the gunfire's coming from, because it's, as I said, it's loud, it's obvious, and I've probably heard it at least a couple dozen times since we moved in, and we're here just 2 years now.
We'll call you, that's for sure.
We start calling every time if we get sick of hearing.
Yes, we will.
No, we want that information. We want the information that you have. Please give it to us. We need it. And also help point us in the right direction from where.
I've got a guest bedroom that's empty.
What's for dinner?
So those properties are, there's more property than you think from the outside, and those roads are. So might be looking at that property and go, oh, there's nothing going on. That road next to it goes way back, and there's a property behind, so they're sort of stacked. So I don't know which road goes where, I mean, but they're not, just like 1, 2, 3, and those shots are definitely coming from the back of those properties in those junkyard areas.
So yes, I think that was mentioned on one of the questions, Colton Bluff, right? Right. Yeah, we've gone out there and we've looked at those properties as well. We're going to continue to do that until we want to get down to the bottom of this as much as you guys do, I promise you. Because we don't want to have any incidents in the neighborhood that could get someone hurt. So we need your help to please continue to call us and direct us to where you think that's coming from.
I have one more question about the music. If we were in the city and there was live outdoor music, would it have to stop at a certain time in a residential area?
I believe the city has some ordinances against that. I'm not familiar with them, so I don't want to speak out of turn. I don't want to speak out of turn in reference to city ordinances.
So if they're going past midnight, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, I mean, I can damn near sing the words of the songs, that's how loud it is. But never mind, it's usually in Spanish, which I like the music, but not,
Not at 2 in the morning.
yeah.
Yeah.
And the Good Brothers here, they're gonna do one more often, and they have 3 pigs, and like, yeah.
And sound travels differently at night than it does during the day.
We can do the cars racing in photo here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Please don't ask us to do something about
No,
that.
Especially when the roller coaster comes in 2 years.
I do think not a mistake, sometimes instead. I heard that snakes come out at night. I think that those shots are snakes.
No.
You don't even know that it's right.
Thanks for having me today, and they go on to the asphalt.
Well, now, they're taking them up now. We had a rattlesnake in our front garage 2 days ago because of the independent construction.
And then we'll take one more question and so.
Yes.
All right. First off, thank you all so much for being here tonight, answering all of our questions. We are a very concerned community. I have 2 questions. My first one is, forgive me, I don't have Facebook, so I don't know if this has been addressed. Do they have a program to where we can basically hire an off-duty sheriff officer if our community collected the funds? So we would have someone here essentially 24/7 to address these concerns. You got to pay them though. My second question is, there was something that you highlighted that I'm actually interested in, and I would like more information on it. It's how, from what I understood, is y'all could come and, I guess, canvass our property and see what we could do to make it more secure and safe for our own home. Do y'all have any more information about that besides the website, or is the website? Oh, perfect. Okay. I just grabbed this because I needed them. Yes. Right. Not Karen next door. There's no Karen next door to me, though.
Well, I appreciate everyone coming tonight. I appreciate you guys for coming as well. Want to just kind of real quick, just kind of sum up some things. This is our second meeting. We will continue to have these. Kind of going over again, they've kind of given the non-emergency number as well as 911. Please know that your management team is here, but we are not the ones to report it to. Absolutely let us know what's going on, but please notify them first. We are absolutely here. We can, kind of get communication, make sure that we are addressing that as well. Just to kind of let everybody know, we've got an amazing team here. I'm sure most of y'all know everybody. We do have some people we've got a team of 3 that actually sit at the desk most of the time, 7 days a week. So please stop by and see them. If not, you've got Liza, myself, Christy is still here. You've got Paul, Susan, Allison, Nick, Soshi. We're all here to help you as much as we possibly can. So again, I appreciate y'all coming tonight. If you've got any additional questions after this, please let us know. We will get the information over. We're going to get all the information from Travis County and actually give that out to everybody as well. So thank you again for your time tonight, and we will see y'all next time.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you.